How many of you have active food donation programs? Roughly like so, for access food. And for those who don't, most of you, what's the main reason you don't have it? Liability. Who said that? Alyssa Sherman. No, she's a plant. Does anyone else have liability as a reason that they don't have a food donation program in their operation? Have you heard that before?
I can't figure out where to give it away.
Oh, that's a great. So Christine said she can't figure out where to give it away. We'll take it. That's a really good concern. I have solutions for both. How many people have concerns about liability for food donation? You're worried that you'll get sued. You're worried about your reputation. Quite a few of you. That's good. That's why I'm here. So since 1996, which is before some of you, not all of you, were born, there's been no liability for people who donate food in good faith, and a lot of operators don't know that. I bet even if you ask, I don't know anything about this place. Don't ask here. But even if you just go to a random restaurant, hotel, catering, and say, "What are you doing with your surplus food? What are you doing with your leftovers?" They may say you can't donate it because of liability. How many? I'm going to give you a multiple choice. No, I'm going to shout it out. It's late. How many lawsuits do you think have been filed based on people getting sick from donated food? Zero. That's right. So it becomes this pervasive myth. I don't know if there's any Seinfeld fans, but Kramer would say it's a write-off. Jerry said, you don't even know what a write-off is. You're just saying that. You're just using that word, right? It's the same as liability. What are you talking about, liability? No one has ever been sued for this, and you're protected by the federal government from getting sued. And in this terrible political time where there's acrimony on both sides and people hate each other, in 2023, there was a bipartisan bill. Both sides worked together to pass something called the Food Donation Improvement Act. And everyone agreed that we should donate food safely and be protected from any liability. And so many people don't know about that because all you see in the news is one side or the other side, and you don't see the great stories about both sides working together to do something really important for the environment, really important for public health, and really important for those less fortunate who can't be here with us having this delicious meal. So I'm honored to be here, and I thought it would be a great thing at the end of the day to remind ourselves that this is going to be a really wonderful, abundant dinner, but it's an abundant dinner that can go to higher purpose once we're done with it. So please keep that in mind. This presentation was co-developed between NRDC, which is the Natural Resources Defense Council, and my shop at Drexel called the Drexel Food Lab. Just a bit about me and the lab. Um, we are a food product development and culinary innovation lab. We have undergrad degrees in culinary arts and food science. We have some of our alums here, including Brian, your previous speaker, and Joe Sheridan, my classmate from back in the day, along with Kelly McClay. Um, and we also have graduate programs. So if anyone's thinking about getting your master's in food science, please talk to me about that. We'd love to have you in a master's or certificate program. So just a little bit of background on food waste to start. We'll see if this video plays. Let's see. All right, so let me try one more thing before I give up. Right? It is a nice picture. All right, I'm going to skip the video. Multiple choice questions and why food waste matters and why food donation matters. How long of a shower could you take with the amount of water it takes to produce an egg? A, 45 seconds, B, 5 minutes, C, 22 minutes, or D, none. Producing eggs doesn't need water like growing vegetables does. Just shout out what you think the right answer is. C, every egg you eat, and we know the cost of eggs, is the equivalent amount of water to 22-minute shower. And we don't have a gray water system in this country, right? That means the same water you're drinking is what's being used for agriculture in many cases. So yeah, 22 minutes. When we think of greenhouse gas emissions, most of us think about cars, airplanes, electricity, things like that. But actually, food waste, wasted food, contributes about 8 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions. How many cars worth of greenhouse gas emissions does food waste in the US create annually? Is it 860 million cars worth, 86 million cars worth, 13 million cars, or 3 million cars? What do you think? A? No, it's actually B, but that's still a lot of cars. Um, so we all know agriculture is the biggest consumer of water and fossil fuels, right? So we're already using more of that into our food than any other sector. And then about a third to 40% of the food we produce is wasted, never eaten. So we're using just vast amounts of resources to grow, transport, dispose of food that we never eat. Which of the following sectors is responsible for most wasted food? Is it farms, grocery stores, restaurants, or households? Restaurants? We're actually pretty good. Oops, it is households. Restaurants are pretty good, and this is why we could be better. But chefs are pretty good at using all the food, right? We talked about full product utilization. Chef Loafing just talked about zero waste, right? We're pretty good at that. Consumers are not very good at that, right? There's a lot of, I go to my mom's house, there's half a bunch of parsley, there's half a red pepper. She's, oh, the recipe called for half a red pepper, so I have to wait till I need another recipe that needs another half a red pepper, right, to use it. So it's really important to educate consumers and to be role models for them. So just a few more stats, and then we'll get into this a little bit more. So food waste accounts for about 40% of all food in the U.S. Going uneaten, about $444 billion a year, 22% of fresh water use, 16% of cropland, 18% of fertilizer, and 24% of landfill is used on food we never even eat. So even if you don't care about the environment, everyone cares about money. And just think about every story I read in restaurant business or Plate or any of these magazines is about what are we going to do with rising food costs, right? Costs are going up. I think every chef in the world knows that. Just imagine if we weren't wasting 40% of it and we could discount everything that we're paying for by that 40%, right? Your whole operation would change. But that's not the situation we're in. And the waste comes from different categories. Milk is about 20% of waste. Meat, 20% wasted. Meat, 22%. Grains. Seafood is astonishing. Like half the seafood produced doesn't get eaten. Which, if you think about, we're hearing all the time about fisheries not being sustainable. I mean, these are creatures, right? We're killing fish, living things for our nutritional benefit, and then they don't get used. It's astonishing. And over half of fruit and vegetables, this is from the retail level. It's really shocking. Um, I'm going to skip this one. Where the waste happens, as I mentioned, consumers, households are the biggest producer of waste. But look who's right behind them is food service, including restaurants and institutions. So we all have a part in this. Together with consumers, we're about 70, 60 some percent of this problem. At the same time, we have vast levels of hunger. So about 1 in 8 Americans has food insecurity or hunger. Regionally in Philadelphia, in Camden, it's 1 in 4. So our neighbors, right, proximate to this event, maybe experiencing food insecurity and hunger. I hope they have a food donation program here. And if they don't, it's my job to help them get one or establish one, right? Um, this is something called the Wasted Food Scale. It's published by the EPA. On the left side of the scale is the most preferred thing you can do with surplus food. So the very best thing you can do, and we all know this as chefs, is prevent it in the first place, right? Don't order if you're cooking for 100, order for 105, right? Don't order for 120 or 150, right? Try to forecast. AI is actually really helpful with that. It's changing a lot of people's ordering to be a lot more efficient. If you can't um, prevent that wasted food, and it's inevitable, right? We've all made that extra hotel pen and rice or that extra hotel pen of big ziti. It doesn't go into the dining room. It should be donated. And if it can't be donated, it should be upcycled, right? So if there's that extra hotel pan of rice today, there better be fried rice on the menu tomorrow, right? Think through what you can do with all this extra production. If it's unfit for human consumption or upcycling, it should go to animals. If it can't go to animals, it should go to compost. If it can't go to compost, it can be digested. And the absolute last thing you should do with it is send it to landfill. And still, the largest component of landfill is organic matter that would decompose if it went to compost. But people are sending it to landfill where it gets in between two sheets of plastic. Things like Christmas trees, leaves, food, make beautiful soil, but not if they're in landfill, right? And they're just filling up landfills. Um, Along with donation, I worked on something with James Beard Foundation called the Kitchen Food Recovery Hierarchy, which is a version of this wasted food scale, and it breaks it out a little bit more. So, in addition to donations, there are many operations. How many of your operations do not, and be honest, I know this is sensitive, but we're in a safe space. How many of your operations do not allow employees to take surplus food home? If you have extra food, you just say, I'm sorry, it's policy, you can't take it home. To me, that is like the worst policy. And I understand the reason for it. I talked to a lot of chefs and managers who say, well, we're worried about the slippery slope. We're worried about first you take the little end of a meatloaf that we can't sell, and then you say, oops, I dropped a ribeye. I guess I'll take it home because I can't sell it, right? That's the theory. I don't know if that's true, but I've never seen it happen. But there's nothing more devastating, I think, if you're a kitchen worker, maybe you're making 15, 20 bucks an hour, you're trying to support your family, you're trying to make ends meet, and you're seeing beautiful food that you've worked on go to waste. I think it's emotionally devastating. I saw even for front of house too, it's just like it's astonishing. Um, so I'd really encourage you if you have the ability, talk to your HR, talk to your management, or maybe you're the manager, rethink that policy and figure out if there's a way to make it accessible for employees. Um, Typical restaurant, for every $1 million in sales, the estimate is about 170K in food waste that can be repurposed or reused. About 1% of that is spoiled. We all know we've all forgotten that little few bunches of parsley in the bag and they get soupy, right? Um, about 3% is usable trim, pepper tops and bottoms, tomato tops and bottoms, right? No one gets the burger with the little end of the tomato on it, but is that going into sauce? Is that going into salsa? Or is it just going into the compost bin or the trash? And about 6% is overproduction, right? Most of it, the vast majority, 7%, is plate waste. Bread baskets going out, steaks that aren't finished, and any sort of plate waste. Altogether, that adds up to about 170K in food. I don't know any restaurant or food service operation that wouldn't want to add 170K for every million back to their bottom line, right? So again, even if you don't care about donation, if you don't care about the environment, you should care about reducing waste. Um, This is a project we actually did with Brian, who you heard from before, when he was at Terrain a few years ago. This is a picture of his knife skills. This is from another source, but uh, what we tried to do is show how trim, and we used just one product. In this case, it was cantaloupe. So then all the cantaloupe trim left from breakfast. Is there an opportunity to menu that somewhere else in the menu? And we used a really high-tech solution called a juicer, where we just took all the scraps and we made cantaloupe juice, right? And from that, we made a broth and we made a sorbet. So it appeared on a soba noodle with a seared scallop and a cantaloupe broth, and cantaloupe sorbetto that was used as a dessert component. And we figured out that every day, just those components saved about $40 in food costs from buying ready-made broth and buying ready-made sorbetto, and then added about $190 a day in revenue from those components. So if you have a $12 dessert and there's three components, a little cake, a little sorbetto, a little garnish, let's say that's $4 and you sell 20, 4 times 20 is 80. That's how we did that math. If you extrapolate just that one item, just these cantaloupe scraps from the breakfast over the course of a year, that's 70K in revenue, saved just from thinking differently about scraps. So in 1996, the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act was passed, and that provides liability for all of you who want to donate surplus food. And there's a few things that have to be in place for that liability to happen under the previous act. So first of all, it has to be good food and grocery products. It has to be donated to a nonprofit like a soup kitchen or food pantry. It has to be free, and it has to be done in good faith. You're not trying to make anyone sick. You're not knowingly giving someone something that you would need yourself, right? But we all know there's beautiful food that you can't serve for whatever reason, right? But still, even though this came out in 1996, in 2016, 20 years later, um, this survey showed that 50% of manufacturers and 25% of retailers cite liability as a concern to donation, just as some of you have done. Um, so in 2023, as I mentioned, um, we have this bipartisan Food Donation Improvement Act, um, which added two additions. One is you can donate directly to individuals, including employees. So some folks that don't let employees take food home have a liability rationale for that. Is, oh yeah, I'm going to give you an extra lobster tail. You put it in the dashboard of your car. You'll go to the movies. You'll come back. You'll eat it after the movie. You'll get sick, and you're going to sue me. It can't happen under this act. And then also it allows for a reduced price. So this is something that came up a lot with food donations. I would say I have a bunch of food. If you could just pick it up, I can donate it to you. And they say, I really can't pick it up. I don't have a truck. I don't have a car. Could you bring it to me? They'll give you $100, and I'll take a truckload of food. That was previously illegal under the 1996 Act. Now that's allowed. So you can pay the cost of transportation or logistics, and you can charge for that. So you could charge 15 cents a pound or something very reasonable to recoup those costs. There's a video series which I don't think will work, but I'll try it after and see if I can make some magic happen. Yeah, do you know how to make it work?
Or is it
So it should be linked or somehow. I did it, it worked when I did it earlier.
but it's not doing it. Do you need the next slide to keep talking?
So
Okay.
what I'll do is
All right, I'll make it.
I'll make some questions and Christine will try to work on it. I'll see if we can do this video. So
All right.
Chef Tom Colicchio did a video series with NRDC about food donation. It's super cheesy, and it might reinforce things we talked about.
Okay, so they're the websites, and then I'll go backwards.
Okay.
because I'm going to make it smaller and go to the other presentation and see if I can get it.
Sounds good. Any questions for me while Christine's working on the videos?
Hmm.
Legend of Throne.
Do you know the website?
Yeah, I can go actually go to the website. Slide should be up there. Oh, I bet that's why. Try again now. Yep, there it is. There we go.
No, I didn't tell you to do that. Sorry, guys.
No, enable. Yep. Show the other video. We have time to show the other video. They wanted to. I'm gonna go back and show you the other video that I tried to show you before that wasn't working, just because I love it. Let's see if this one will work. There we go. Should. You see what she did, the biggest strawberries with that house. Consumer home consumers business. She wants all the strawberries to one. So it's all about education. You know, when I was in school, I didn't learn that much, but I learned enough. We don't really do that like these. Any questions for me? And I'll turn it back over to Christine. All right, thank you. If anyone has questions about either our programs at Drexel or the donation, food waste, happy to chat. Oh, Christina had a question before, which is I have trouble finding people who would take my food. There are a number of apps, you know, the expression there's an app for that. So there's an app for that called Food Connect, and it matches donors and those who will accept donations. And what's great about it is back in my day, if you wanted to donate, it was like, well, soup kitchen's open, you know, Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 2, so drop your stuff off then. Then I'd be like, well, we have this wedding, it's Saturday night, it's 1 a.m. That's when we have the food to donate, right? So now you can actually go on Food Connect and say, we have an event ending at midnight, and if anyone can come and take it, you can take it leftovers, and there's a tax incentive. They calculate all your savings and give you a receipt, so it makes it easy.
So thank you very much for this great presentation. It's really meaningful for the settlers to chapter. We support the local food bank, community food bank with Jersey Southern Brands. We recently did an event called the Night of 300,000 Meals, and we raised enough money for over 400,000 meals. So the good presentation today is very meaningful to us. Thank you very much, John. Thank you.